What if the person smiling across the dinner table was secretly trying to poison you? Tonight, I'm telling you the story that still keeps me up some nights. It's the night my mother-in-law poured something from a tiny vial into my drink when she thought I wasn't looking. And how, 45 minutes later, her own husband was the one throwing up violently while she stared at me in pure horror. This isn't just about one spiked glass. This is about 6 years of subtle sabotage, fake smiles, and a twisted plan to destroy my marriage, and how one quiet swap changed everything. Stick around until the end, because the real revenge wasn't loud. It was surgical. My mother-in-law poured something strange into my drink when she thought I wasn't looking. "Special cocktail for my favorite son-in-law," she said with that tight little smile. I thanked her and discreetly switched glasses with her husband, the man who spent years mocking my career. 45 minutes later, well, you'll see. My name is Julian Mercer, 32 years old, independent photographer based in Asheville, North Carolina. I built my business from zero: weddings, wildlife assignments, magazine spreads, even National Geographic. The kind of work that pays the bills if you're actually good at it. And I am. But to my in-laws, especially Diane, what I do has never been enough. Every Sunday dinner at their big colonial house was the same performance. "How's the little photography hobby going, Gerald?" my father-in-law would ask, smirking over a steak, not even trying to hide the disdain. He was an investment banker. Success to him meant square footage, stock options, and a company BMW. My wife Haley would squeeze my hand under the table, her silent apology for parents who never accepted me. I'd just come back from shooting bison in knee-deep Montana snow for a week. I was exhausted, wind-burned, running on maybe 4 hours of sleep, but Haley insisted we couldn't miss her mom's birthday dinner. "Just a couple hours," she promised. I should have listened to the knot in my stomach when we pulled into their driveway. We met 6 years ago at an art exhibition where my photos were featured. Haley was finishing her master's in environmental science. I was finally starting to get recognized. We clicked instantly. She got why I needed to chase light across mountains at 4 a.m., and I loved her fire for protecting the planet. Her parents? Different story. From day one, Gerald made it clear he expected someone else for his princess, someone with a 401k and a corner office. Diane was sneakier. She'd compliment a photo, then immediately ask when I planned to settle into something stable. Last Christmas, I overheard Diane on the phone. "Haley could have married Thomas, you know, orthopedic surgeon, family money, but she chose the creative one." The way she said creative made it sound like a terminal illness. When we announced we were trying for a baby, Gerald pulled me aside. "Children are expensive, son. Maybe think about real employment first." I smiled, shook his hand, kept my mouth shut. I didn't want Haley to have to choose between me and her parents, so I swallowed it for years. But there were red flags I ignored. The way Diane would pull Haley into the kitchen whenever I talked about a big sale. How she'd accidentally crop me out of family photos. The time Gerald looked me dead in the eye and suggested Haley might need therapy for her impulsive decisions. I told myself time would fix it. I was wrong. The Friday of Diane's birthday dinner, I came home with raw, wind-burned cheeks and a memory card full of images that would pay our mortgage for 3 months. I showered, put on a decent shirt, and we drove to the fancy side of town. Dinner started normal enough, Gerald bragging about closing some deal, Diane fussing over centerpieces, Haley's brother Owen and his wife Vanessa making small talk. I nursed a beer and counted minutes until escape. After the main course, Diane announced her famous sangria for dessert. She disappeared into the kitchen. I offered to help carry glasses. That's when I saw it. 2 glasses sat separate from the others. As I stepped in, she quickly tipped something from a tiny vial into one of them, colorless, odorless. She tucked it away the second she heard me. "Oh, Julian, I've got this. This one's for you, special recipe for my favorite son-in-law." My throat dried up. There was a faint film floating on top, catching the light like oil. I forced a smile, took both glasses she'd prepared, and walked back to the dining room. Gerald was glued to his phone. "Sangria, sir?" I said casually, placing the tampered glass right in front of him. He barely glanced up, took a big gulp. I made an excuse about wanting water with dessert and sat down. 45 minutes later, Gerald went ghost white, sweating bullets, and bolted for the bathroom. The sounds coming through that door were violent. Everyone froze. Diane's face drained of color when she realized what glass he'd drunk from. Her eyes locked on mine across the table, and in that moment, I knew two things with 100% certainty. My mother-in-law had just tried to poison me, and she knew that I knew.
I didn't scream, didn't confront her. Just ate my chocolate cake while Haley rushed to check on her dad, and Diane stammered about bad shellfish. In the chaos, I quietly pocketed the untouched glass meant for me. Something cold and deliberate had woken up inside me. This wasn't ending tonight. Monday morning, I took the glass to Jason, an old client who runs a private toxicology lab. 3 days later, Julian, there were enough benzos in here to knock someone out for hours and cause memory gaps. Where the hell did you get this? I thanked him, paid extra for a written report, and said nothing. That night, I told Haley I needed to skip Sunday dinners for a while. Big exhibition coming up. She was disappointed, but understood. I still hadn't told her what I knew. I needed more ammunition first. Over the next 2 weeks, I dug. Diane had Xanax prescriptions from 3 different doctors, triple dosing for years. Country club whispers about stolen jewelry, bizarre behavior at parties, stories her family had buried with money and influence. I saved everything. Then, Haley mentioned her mom needed new profile photos for social media and specifically asked if I'd take them. Perfect. Saturday, I showed up alone, camera bag in one hand, sealed envelope in the other. Diane was waiting, hair perfect, pearls gleaming. Gerald was at the office. Before we started, I said quietly, "Thought you might want to see this first," and handed her the envelope. Toxicology report, prescription records, everything. Her hands shook so hard the papers rattled. "This is absurd," she whispered. "We both know what happened," I cut in. "What I don't know is why." Her mask cracked. "You're not good enough for my daughter. You never will be. A real man provides security, not pictures." "And drugging your daughter's husband provides security?" "It wasn't lethal," she snapped. "Just enough to make you sick, miss that stupid gallery opening, prove to Haley you're unreliable." I let that hang in the air. Then I laid out the new rules. She was going to tell Gerald what she did, and both of them were going to treat me with respect from now on, not because they liked me, but because the alternative was Haley learning exactly who her parents were. She laughed, hollow. "She'll never believe you over us." "Maybe not," I said, picking up my camera bag. "But she'll believe lab reports, prescription fraud, and the neighbors you've screwed over. Your call." I left without taking a single photo. That night, Diane called Haley sobbing, claiming I'd been hostile and threatening. When Haley confronted me, I finally showed her everything. She kept repeating, "My mother wouldn't," but her voice cracked. The next day, she went to her parents alone, came back distant. I threw myself into edits, waiting for the storm to pass. Then a package arrived, no return address. Inside, a USB drive and a note signed V. Vanessa, Owen's wife. Home security footage from the night of the dinner. Crystal clear, Diane adding the vial, me swapping glasses, Gerald drinking, and then after we left, Diane screaming at Gerald for taking the wrong glass. But there was more.
Footage from days later. Diane and Gerald plotting to convince Haley to divorce me and move home. Talking about doing the exact same thing to her previous fiancé, Thomas. Gerald on camera. "By the time I'm done, she'll file thinking it was her idea." Diane. If she chooses him over family, she's not the daughter I raised. I felt sick. This wasn't random. It was a pattern. Vanessa explained on the phone they'd tried to break her and Owen up for 2 years after they married. Only stopped when she got pregnant. A grandchild gave them leverage. I started collecting everything. Reached out to Thomas. He sent old emails showing the same sabotage. Contacted other exes Haley had mysteriously cut off. Gathered more security clips Vanessa slipped me. Then I invited Owen and Vanessa over for dinner without telling Haley. Over dessert, I hooked my laptop to the TV. There's something you all need to see. For the next hour, we watched every damning second. Haley went white. Owen kept muttering, "That's not my parents." Vanessa finally told him what they'd done to her. When it ended, Haley looked at me with tears streaming. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I needed you to see it for yourself, all of it." The next morning, Diane called, all fake concern, suggesting Haley come stay with them to get clarity. Haley put her on speaker and tore into her, told her we'd seen the footage, knew about Thomas, knew everything. Then she dropped the bomb. "We're coming over tonight, all of us. No more lies." That night, we walked in with my camera and tripod. "Documenting this for the family archives," I said calmly. Gerald tried to take control immediately. For 2 hours, we played clip after clip, email after email. Their denials got weaker and weaker. Finally, Haley stood up. "I love you, but what you've done is unforgivable. You don't get to control my life anymore." Owen backed her up. Diane cried. Not remorse, just losing control. As we left, I handed Gerald a USB drive with every piece of evidence. "This stays private as long as you stay out of our marriage. Try again, and copies go to your club, your partners, everyone." For the first time in 6 years, Gerald looked at me with something like respect. "I underestimated you." "Yes," I said, "you did." 6 months passed. Haley and Owen started therapy. Diane and Gerald kept distance. Then came the holiday olive branch dinner invitation. Haley wanted to go. "They're still my parents." I agreed, but stayed sharp. Everything seemed normal until Gerald invited me to his study and offered me a junior partner position at his firm, complete with a fat salary. "That's what a real man does, provide." I set the untouched scotch down. "No thanks. You can't buy me, and you'll never understand why Haley loves me exactly as I am." Walking back to the dining room, Haley caught my eye. She knew. Then she stood up smiling. "Mom, Dad, we're having a baby. I'm 3 months along." The shock on their faces was priceless. Gerald muttered congratulations through gritted teeth. I leaned in so only he heard. "This child will never be a pawn. Ever." 3 weeks later, a certified letter arrived. Deed to the house we'd been renting, plus a trust fund for the baby. No note, no conditions. Gerald's version of surrender. Our daughter Eliza was born that summer. Diane and Gerald came to the hospital, cooed politely, and left without overstepping. They never apologized. They're not capable, but they stopped the sabotage. One evening, Haley told me her mom wanted us for Christmas. "With conditions," she added. "Hotel, no unsupervised baby time. Boundaries." 2 weeks before Christmas, a glossy annual report arrived from Gerald's company. My photographs filled the pages, landscapes I'd shot on my terms. A short note: "Hired the best photographer I know." It wasn't forgiveness, it was respect, the only kind he could give.
That spring, I opened my own gallery downtown. Opening night was packed. Toward the end, Gerald and Diane slipped in. Diane held Eliza for 30 supervised seconds. Gerald shook my hand, nodded at the walls, and left without one suggestion about real jobs. As Haley and I locked up that night, she asked me, "Do you think they've changed?" I thought about it. No. But they've accepted they can't change us. And sometimes that's enough. Later on our porch, stars over the mountains, Eliza asleep upstairs, I realized the best revenge wasn't destroying them. It was refusing to play their game, building the life I wanted with the people I love on my terms, and in the end, living well, quietly, honestly, persistently. That was the victory they could never take away.